I'm magnificent. No matter what's going on in this world, I'm going to keep it magnificent because that's what I do and that's what I choose to do. The times we're in, there's no time for playing anymore. People have got to really change their mindset. If you got fragile states of mind, mental toughness needs to be your angle. With everything with Christ being at the forefront and the main focal point thereof, because that's the only way. There's just too much extra going on in this world right now. And then, when people are out here trying to seek knowledge or try to extenuate knowledge, you got trolls. They always want to chime in because they've been paid to chime in to undermine and attempt to derail, because they can't look themselves in the mirror in the morning when they're blessed enough to rise out of their bed. All they want to do is sit and try to tear down what could be potentially beneficial to the next individual. We are in some strange times, and then they got our people so conditioned, especially the younger generations, they got them so conditioned. They got them under these falsified ideologies of this hood to hood campaign, and all it does is destroy our people as a result. Following the ways of the so-called hood logics. And then in the overall grand scheme of things, it's nothing. Think of these gangs and individuals who are so-called on their thuggish ruggishness. If they would take the basic principles that unifies them and pour that energy into Christ and went through life with those viewpoints, things would be a lot better. They could get a lot done in the communities. But they don't want to do that. The young people, they think they know everything and don't know anything. They be prancing around here acting like they're tough, acting like they're hood, but then they freeze up to those in power. So it's like we gotta show our young people better than this. Always with Christ at the focal point though, because you can't do it without him at the focal point. Without Christ, it crumbles. And that's the truth. All these young people out here, if they would take that same energy that they, incorporate to construct these gangs and these different outlets of negativity, and poured it into Christ and poured it into their communities, things would be a whole lot better. Things would be a whole lot different. But no, we got some of the older generation trying to be in competition with the younger generation. Instead of showing them better, they're trying to show them quote unquote better ways of being criminals. The powers that be thrive off of this. They love this, because it's like, the curses continue that way. Kids walking around here with all these weapons that they don't even train with, first and foremost. If you're going to carry a weapon, train with it properly. But they don't even do that. They don't even do that at all. My advice for the future is follow Christ, because we're at the beginning of the end. And anyone who doesn't believe that, just look at the times we're in. It's going down out here. Y'all don't think Iran and this coming war, you don't think they're going to strike American soil? Anyone who doesn't believe that, their way of thinking is far-fetched in nature. You know, this is biblical. We can't approach these matters carnally. Carnally mean from a worldly standpoint, from standpoints outside of following the ways of the Most High in Christ. That's the only way. You know, these 15-minute cities that they are constructing, that's a serious situation. Because once all this stuff gets kicked off in totality, along with, you know, them declaring martial law, it's getting ready to get ugly out here. And not only do you got to worry about those in power, but then you got to worry about groups of individuals who done clicked up. And instead of following the ways of Most High in Christ, they're going to be out here pillaging, raping, stealing, killing, all in the name of, oh, I got to take care of me and mine. And it's that animalistic mentality that they're going to try to extenuate. Instead of putting their faith in the Most High in Christ, turning away from sin, because that's the only way, regardless if it's cliche or not. That has to happen. You know, we got to turn away from sin. It starts there. That sin gives them the spiritual, legal access to try to derail you, to kill you in a roundabout way. Like everything that's going on right now in this world is deep. It is so deep. And then they got the youth out here just living amok, going crazy, killing each other off, robbing and stealing and hooked all on these extra kind of drugs. Like, even though people make their choices, but these choices can be coerced. You know, they've got frequencies and signals they can send out here, implant thoughts in people's minds and things. And it's all spiritual. It's all demonic energy. Have people thinking certain ways. Like everything that's going on right now, all this extra, this murder spirit that's in the air, people dying. Yeah. You know, the world has changed emphatically since 2020. And they had to get that jab in as many individuals as they possibly could so that they can usher in the next phase of all this. Ultimately heading in the direction of the New World Order. We are there. It's here. It's here. This is why they can have a multitude of people beat you to where you're going to go grocery shopping at. They can be right there in the aisles that you're going to, following you around and then acting like they're not following you around. You know, like the movie Fallen. Like that's so sick. That is such a spot on movie. Those with the spiritual eyes to see understand what I'm saying. So we got to turn away from our sin. We got to pray to the Most High. We got to ask for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to navigate and how to deal with all these things that are to come. For those who are being serious, and for all those who are trying to troll and be funny, you know, even though they've been paid to come on, you know, various platforms and try to change the energy, you know, you're going to have a hard time trolling me because I'm not going to feed into it. I don't have the time or the patience. And I'm a very serious individual, especially with this. So we need to understand things for what they truly are. We need to be there for one another on a real level and stop offing each other. You know, it's not about color. It's about tribes. It basically tribes in a nutshell. And we're all going to suffer the same fate if we don't get on board. This isn't a matter just to overlook. Can't just be overlooking these matters as if they're meaningless. They're very meaningful, and it's all biblical. No other time in the history of the world have you seen where they can just go and snatch leaders out the comfort of their country and homes and things of that nature, and they're never gonna give you the real reasons why they're doing what they're doing. They always justify them under some fictionalized guises. That's all they do. Because those in power serve the demonic realm. They all meet in secret. They all, it's a hierarchy, just like in the forces of good. But there's good and bad in everywhere. But what good does it do to have people that are good, actually good, who are on the bad side, but yet due to fear, they do nothing to come to the forefront to aid those that need it. So it's like, what good are you? How can you even be called good at that juncture? So we need to understand that for what it is. We need to watch our surroundings and be mindful of the individuals who we allow into our inner circle. And understand that all these news stories that be coming out, it's all truth and lies mixed in, intermixed. With all the surveillance that they have, especially the way that they got these groups of stalkers that follow people relentlessly, you can't tell me that people are getting kidnapped in 2026 and all the forces and all the technological advancements in which they contain, and they can't find anybody when they've got gadgetries that they can see through your walls. So don't believe the hype when they're sitting up here acting like, oh, well, such and such has been missing. Like the one lady all over the news. Oh, the anchor lady's mother come up missing, so they say. All these different stories, Epstein files, every last one of these people are attached to, it's bigger than Epstein. And then it's always, when they're trying to get ahead of something, it's always a quote unquote some mental illness lie or suicide lie in the equation. These people been doing these things. Look at the McMartin preschool scandal of the 1980s, when ex-FBI director Ted Gunderson had they was taking the children through tunnels and then flying them by helicopter to a mountain, doing seances, doing rituals, and all kind of things. And didn't nobody want to believe the children and everything. These people end up beating that stuff. But then when Ted Gunderson became a private investigator, he used to be ex-FBI director of Los Angeles, Dallas, and I want to say Houston maybe. But he was a real prestigious FBI agent. He had those tunnels excavated, and the things that he found out and the horrors that ensued as a result. So, these things been going on. But see, these evildoers, they know their time is not of the essence. So we gotta stop believing everything we hear. You halfway can't even believe everything you see. We're talking about agencies who specialize in the art of deception and clever trickery. And then especially when you go outside this country, you start learning the truth about things that they've lied about. They up here pillaging and stealing lands that was never theirs to begin with. And then those who built the country up but reap none of the benefits. You know, all this is biblical. Then they take your real language, they take your real quote unquote nationality, and then they'll replace it with some absurd piece of fiction, like the African American title. What an absurd piece of fiction. There's no such thing as an African American as far as in the context in which they've, you know, extenuated to the populace. So we need to remember that. We gotta keep Christ first above all. That's first and foremost to the most. There's no way outside of the way of Christ. You can try every way in which you like, but it will never happen. It will never work. It will never go in your favor. You got to give your all to the Most High God in Christ, because if not, you'll meet your demise out here. You know, these are the times if you're an individual who's, you know, we got to stop being social media rats with this look at me, look how I'm living, look what I'm doing. We make life so much easier for those that want to destroy us because we put our whole business out there. Now, it's different if you're trying to, you know, do an educational video or something along those lines, but and then that whole Hollywood stuff, that's getting ready to be something of the past as well. Look at all these entertainers now from the entertainment industry out here doing podcasts, YouTube stations. Like, things are coming to a head. That should be another indication that things are getting critical. You know? And then those who end up getting the digital ID mark of the beast chip, if you go outside of the confines of the area in which you live, they'll shut your chip off so you won't even be able to spend. And I don't even subscribe to allowing yourselves to be chipped or implanted. Endure. Trust Christ in the Most High, and He's going to get us through it. You know, they already have a framework of those who will accept it due to fear, because they were some of the same people who went and got that jab out of fear. And the Most High created us. He did not create us to need shots upon our arrival from birth. You know? And then we allow them, because they got on a white jacket, we allow them to convince us that it's imperative that the youngins get shots and all these things. Don't you understand? If we stop giving our kids vaccines and shots and things upon their arrival at birth and leave them alone and let the Most High God in their life take its course, they'd be healthy. They'd be very healthy. But nah, we've allowed ourselves to be tricked and deceived into thinking specific narratives that was created only to destroy. The time is now. We got to look through all the deceptive measures that's been put in place. We have to. And we need to stand firm on our faith and trust in the Most High. Because in the end, all evildoers, all demonic energy will be neutralized. As a result, they can sit up here, they can pretend all day long as if fat meat ain't greasy. But that level of pretendinators is gonna get on my hot, smoking hot rear end in the deepest depths of hell. You know, I don't want to see hell. I mean, Look at everything we got to go through on this earth in its totality. Who in their right mind after this wants to go burn forever? And that heat is as spiritual as it is physical. Who wants to be going through that when we don't have to? When we can turn over to the Most High and trust and believe in Christ to get us through. Understand who the real enemies are. We got to stop being so divided out here. We're too divided. But at the end of the day, people can come forward and do all the explaining there is to explain. There's still going to be a lot of hard heads because they still trying to live up to the standards of the world. They still trying to conduct yourself in a manner that reflects this monopolized paper money that they've got so many individuals out here worshiping. Because when they say by 2030 you will own nothing and be happy, they are on course to making that happen. That's happening right before our very eyes. So we need to weed through all this current level of propaganda and understand what's really at stake here. Because once you lose your soul, you can't get it back. You know, it's one thing to lose your life, okay, but make sure your soul is intact with the Most High so that you can live forever in eternal peace and harmony and all of the things that the Most High has in store. All this other stuff is senseless. So we need to keep that in mind. Keep it to Christ. Those who don't, hey, eat, drink, be merry. Godspeed to you. Hopefully you make the right decision. Because those who don't make the right decision, you're gonna burn, sonny. You're gonna burn. And that's just the facts. So, you know, we gotta put all of our belief in Christ. That's just what it is. And it's what it's gonna be. Those who try to pretend like Christ don't exist and he's not the true Messiah and all this stuff, pay no attention to that type of rhetoric. Because these are the ones who are gonna be on the front lines to being disintegrated. So, just a little food for thought this morning on this magnificent day in which the Creator has made and has given us another chance to make it right. With that said, blessings to everybody. Praises be to the Most High God. Get your soul right. Time is ticking. Shalom.